You've been taught that goodness guarantees respect, that morality is armor, protecting you while you rise. But what if the opposite is true? What if your virtue isn't a shield but a target? History's greatest thinkers saw through the lie. Niccolo Machiavelli didn't write The Prince to celebrate nobility. He wrote it to tear apart the dangerous myth that playing fair leads to power. He watched rulers crumble not because they were evil, but because they were too good, too trusting, too naive, too bound by rules their enemies ignored. The world isn't a meritocracy, it's a chessboard. And while you're busy following the moves you were taught, others are flipping the table, rewriting the rules, or stealing your pieces. This isn't cynicism, it's clarity. Machiavelli's warning wasn't for tyrants, it was for you. The idealist who doesn't realize your integrity is fuel for those who have none. Stop confusing honor with weakness. The game isn't rigged against the wicked. It's rigged against those who refuse to see the game at all. How many times have you stayed late, covered for someone else's mistakes, or told the truth, only to watch credit go to the loudest, not the fairest? How many times have you buried your ambition to be the bigger person, while the selfish, the ruthless, the manipulative kept climbing? Machiavelli saw this trap 500 years ago. It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both. He wasn't praising cruelty. He was diagnosing why the good so often lose. You've been labeled the reliable one, the team player, the martyr. But those aren't titles, they're cages. The world doesn't crown the kindest, it feeds on them. You weren't born to be a pawn, quietly sacrificed in a game you pretend not to see. You were born to survive it, to outthink it, to stop confusing goodness with surrender. Because every time you choose martyrdom over strategy, you're not proving your virtue, you're proving theirs. Here's the truth no one wants to admit. Goodness without power isn't noble, it's suicide. Morality isn't a prison, it's a tool, and like any tool, it's useless unless you control how and when to wield it. To survive, you'll need 3 Machiavellian tactics. Let's break them down. Rule number 1. Kindness must be optional, never obligatory. Kindness is only virtuous when it's voluntary. The moment it becomes expected, it morphs into a weakness. Machiavelli wrote that, "A prince must avoid becoming hated, but fear is his true armor." People respect what they fear losing, not what they take for granted. If you're always available, always sacrificing, you train others to see your goodness as a resource to exploit, not a virtue to admire. For example, the coworker who says yes to every request, covering shifts, mentoring juniors, staying late. They're praised as selfless but overlooked for promotions. Why? Because constant kindness becomes disregarded. Machiavelli warned that liberality, used so you won't be despised, harms you. In essence, help others only when it's strategic. When it builds alliances, silences critics, or positions you as indispensable. Every act of generosity should have a silent footnote. The leverage it earns you. Rule number 2, weaponize perception, master duality. Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are. Your reputation isn't who you are. It's a tool to disarm enemies and inspire allies. The goal isn't to lie, but to control what others believe. A leader who's universally nice is a leader no one fears. Machiavelli didn't say be evil. He said appear merciful, faithful, humane, religious, upright, but be prepared to act otherwise. The CEO who smiles in meetings but quietly replaces underperformers? The colleague who praises your ideas publicly but negotiates ruthlessly for credit? They're not hypocrites, they're tacticians. Your public face builds trust, your private actions enforce consequences. Perception isn't lying, it's controlling the narrative. Rule number 3, ruthless prioritization, when ethics must bend to survive. We've been taught that morality is absolute, a fixed line between right and wrong. But Machiavelli's work exposes this as a dangerous illusion. In reality, ethics are a series of trade-offs, not commandments. Imagine a doctor in a plague-stricken village. They must decide who gets the last dose of medicine, the elderly priest, the pregnant mother, or the child. There's no moral answer, only survival. Clinging to rigid ideals in a chaotic world isn't integrity, it's self-destruction. Machiavelli didn't dismiss ethics, he dismissed blind ethics. His infamous phrase, "the ends justify the means," isn't a license for cruelty. It's a call to weigh your choices against consequences, not dogma. The entrepreneur who refuses to undercut competitors on price, even as their business fails, isn't noble. They're prioritizing abstract principles over real-world impact. Ruthless prioritization forces you to ask, what am I willing to sacrifice? My morals or my mission? Example, a nonprofit director discovers a donor's money comes from exploitative labor. The ethical move is to reject the funds. But what if that money could build a school for 500 children? The Machiavellian doesn't see a binary choice, they see a negotiation. Accept the donation, but leak the donor's practices anonymously, forcing reform. Use the tainted money to fund a PR campaign exposing exploitation. Now the ends, educating children and reforming a corrupt system, justify the means, temporarily partnering with a villain. This isn't hypocrisy, it's hierarchy. You protect your core ethics, helping the vulnerable, by bending secondary ones, rejecting dirty money. Ruthless prioritization means choosing which morals matter most, and letting the rest adapt. The saint dies on every hill. The sovereign picks the hill worth dying for. Right now, you're the saint in a den of wolves. You follow rules written by others, clinging to a moral code that costs you promotions, influence, and respect. You've been told that integrity means sacrificing yourself, that compromise is corruption. The employee who stays late while others take credit. The friend who gives endlessly while others take. The leader who hesitates to enforce boundaries because kindness means never making waves. But here's the truth you've ignored. The world doesn't reward silent suffering. It exploits it. Every time you swallow your ambition to avoid seeming selfish, you shrink. Every time you forgive betrayal to take the high road, you train others to see your dignity as optional. The old you believes morality is a cage, that to be good, you must bleed quietly. But this isn't nobility, it's naivety. Wolves don't respect martyrs, they circle them, waiting for the next meal. Machiavelli didn't write The Prince to glorify tyrants. He wrote it to warn people like you, those who mistake passivity for purity. His work reveals a brutal truth. In a world where power dictates survival, rigid morality is a death sentence. Think of the honest employee who exposes corruption, only to be fired while the corrupt thrive, or the kind leader who avoids confrontation, only to watch their team crumble under chaos. These aren't failures of character, they're failures of strategy. Machiavelli saw ethics not as a rigid doctrine, but as a fluid tool. To him, the true crime isn't bending rules, it's letting others bend you. The saint dies hungry, the sovereign eats. Not because they're cruel, but because they understand. Morality without agency is theater. You don't owe the world your destruction to prove your worth. The new you isn't a wolf. You're something far more dangerous, a wolf in sheep's armor. You'll still act with integrity, but on your terms. Instead of blindly following rules designed to suppress you, you'll rewrite them. When a manipulative coworker steals your idea, you won't fume silently. You'll generously present their half-baked concept to the board, letting its flaws humiliate them. When a toxic friend demands your time, you'll kindly redirect them to someone more willing to be exploited. This isn't betrayal, it's reclamation. Sovereignty means wearing virtue as armor, not as a target. It's knowing when to offer mercy and when to wield consequences. The old you begged for fairness. The new you engineers it. You'll be called ruthless by those who benefited from your weakness. But you'll sleep soundly knowing your kindness is now a choice, not a compulsion. The saint dies for principles. The sovereign lives by them and makes the world bend to their light. Tonight, you'll do something radical. you'll audit your virtue. Grab a pen. Write down 3 times your goodness backfired. The promotion you lost because you didn't lobby for yourself. The relationship you ruined by refusing to set boundaries. The idea you muted to avoid seeming selfish. This isn't self-pity, it's reconnaissance. Machiavelli didn't conquer Florence by obsessing over his flaws. He studied them. Your list isn't a confession, it's a map of where you handed power to others. The first entry will hurt, the third will enrage you. Good. That rage isn't shame, it's fuel. You've been gaslit into calling these failures noble. They're not. They're receipts of a system that rewards the bold and devours the compliant. Tomorrow, break one rule. Not for clout or chaos or the hollow thrill of rebellion, but to reprogram your relationship with power. Choose a rule that's kept you small. Don't ask for more than you're given. Always put others first. Never negotiate aggressively. Then violate it surgically. If you're the employee who never negotiates salary, demand a raise and a title bump. Not because you deserve it, but because you've realized deservedness is a myth. If you're the friend who's always available, vanish for 48 hours. Let them panic. Let them realize your kindness was a gift, not a given. Machiavelli didn't ask permission to reshape Renaissance politics. He observed that power isn't seized. It's claimed by those willing to act first. This isn't about becoming cruel. It's about proving to yourself that rules are suggestions written by those who benefit from your obedience. The wolves aren't coming. They're here. They're the co-worker who takes credit for your work, the friend who weaponizes your guilt, the system that pathologizes your ambition. You have 2 choices. Keep playing lamb, bleating about fairness while they feast, or become the hunter the world fears to challenge. The hunter doesn't abandon ethics, they weaponize them. They know when to offer mercy and when to bury the knife. They help allies, sabotage threats, and vanish before applause turns to suspicion. Machiavelli didn't write The Prince to create monsters. He wrote it to arm the underestimated, those tired of being collateral damage in a game they didn't design. Tonight, you start drafting your manifesto. Tomorrow, you break the first rule. Not for chaos, but to rewrite the script. When your boss dismisses your idea, don't argue. Pivot. You're right. Let's revisit this after the client asks why we ignored their feedback. When your partner guilt trips you for setting boundaries, don't justify, retreat. I'll give you space to reflect on why you feel entitled to my labor. Every broken rule is a brick torn from the cage they built around you. The wolves don't fear saints, they fear sovereigns, those who stop negotiating their worth, those who wear virtue as armor, not a target. The choice isn't between good and evil, it's between irrelevance and power. Machiavelli's Florence fell to those who dared to act first. Your world will bend to those who refuse to bleed. So, will you die a lamb, or will you pick up the board and flip it? If this triggered you, good, because the game was never fair. Your virtue wasn't weakness, it was a weapon they sheathed in shame. Now unsheath it. Drop a comment below. What did this video force you to confront? Subscribe and like the video only if you're ready to betray your naivety and embrace the dark arts of strategic goodness.